Newer films are always difficult to evaluate because they all lack perspective, and sometimes we tend to go a little too gaga over a brand new film, and then a few years later we revisit it and maybe it doesn't hold up for a plethora of reasons. I watched quite a few films last year, and Wim Wenders' Perfect Days has held a particular grasp on me. This happens from time to time with newer films, but as I grow older, it's happening less and less. Without the gift of perspective, Perfect Days may be just that, perfect. It's difficult to say that, but I think it's going to stand the test of time. Wim Wenders is a filmmaker who needs zero introduction here. He's a world-class filmmaker, from narrative to shorts to documentaries. He's a kaiju titan, to say the least. As a filmmaker, he's inspired me so many times, from films such as Wings of Desire, Paris, Texas, Until the End of the World, and The End of Violence come to mind. With Perfect Days, Wim has created something akin to, let's just call it cinematic meditation. Perfect Days was released in 2023, and it tells the simple story of a middle-aged Tokyo toilet cleaner named Hirayama. Hirayama lives a simple life. He wakes up at the crack of dawn and cleans public toilets for a company called the Tokyo Toilet. He brings his lunch, he takes photographs with his film camera, and loves listening to Western music from Lou Reed, The Animals, Patti Smith, and even Nina Simone. He carries out his routine day after day after day. Wenders shows us every detail of his life. Even his favorite places to visit and his activities on his days off are also repeated. Hirayama lives in a time loop that rarely changes until one day it does, with a visit from a niece. This throws his almost OCD-like routine into a bit of chaos, with Hirayama trying desperately to adapt the change into his routine with somewhat of a success. But as in all of our lives, when the routine is altered, so is our thought pattern. We don't know why he is the way he is, and it doesn't really matter here. We get hints of it from time to time, and we can only assume he's adopted this routine to root out certain thoughts of his past. Wenders was originally planning to make a documentary on the Tokyo Toilet project, but as he observed the project in person, he found a narrative instead. Wenders was said to have been heavily influenced by the works of filmmaker Ozu. Ozu's approach to filmmaking was being a minimalist at heart, and that is clearly the case here with Wenders, even adapting the 4.3 aspect ratio as a direct nod to Ozu's works. Hirayama's name even comes from Ozu's Tokyo story. Wenders' own film, Until the End of the World, could almost serve as a cousin to this film in terms of feel and mood. Hirayama enjoys his routine and his interests, but the disruptions to it are very similar to his job of a toilet cleaner. When the process of cleaning the toilet is interrupted by a person, he must stop his process immediately and wait outside until that person is finished. Then he must start the process all over again. This is somewhat of an analogy to what happens to him in the film. Unforeseen disturbances in his routine freeze him in a way, but they also allow him time to exit his own head and observe others for a moment, very much how he photographs trees during his cleaning breaks. Those images are too presented here as breakthroughs, as this seemingly meek toilet cleaner has very good artistic talent, but the routine still takes precedence, and everyone can identify with that. He literally keeps his art hidden in a closet and will more than likely be hailed as a genius once he is gone and his art is discovered. Wenders always uses music in his films to define his characters, and here, music locks Hirayama squarely in the past and tells us where his head is at. His photography and method of entertainment, that being cassettes, all have nostalgic ties. This film is a wonderful meditation on life. Wenders steadies us with Hirayama's routine, but lets us experience life outside of that with its disruptions in the routine. It's in these disruptions that we feel the impact of what breaking routine means in a person's life. The disruptions are what really matter here, and Hirayama can only assimilate them into his life. To not do so would turn him into something maybe unrecognizable. He ultimately is a person who goes from observing disruptions as kind of a voyeur to becoming a full participant. It's a hard thing for him to admit that he wants, much like it is for all of us who live in the routine. This film is on all the major streamers right now, so go for a disruption and go see it any way you can.
Do I have what it takes